Happy race day, everyone. We got a big race today at Talladega Superspeedway. Not sure how it's really going to turn out with a lot going on. Denny Hamlin and Kevin Harvick all over NASCAR about safety. Alex Bowman is out of the race with a concussion. That is a second concussion adding to Kurt Busch earlier this year. So it adds a little bit extra risk. I don't know, a little bit extra something to the race today just because we don't know how these guys are going to race. I wouldn't actually be surprised if we've seen a lot of single file racing, kind of like the old super speedway races that just follow each other around for most of the stage. Things probably, we kind of seen that a bit in the Xfinity race. Things get interesting maybe the last 5 to 10 laps going into the end of these stages. That could be something that is definitely in play today. We're going to have to wait and see. But I think we still build around, just wait for a few more people to trickle in here. But I do think we still build around place differential. That's the easiest way to get your upside. The news coming through, Noah Gragson going to the rear today. He was starting seventh. If you were playing him starting seventh, that doesn't really affect it a whole bunch at a super speedway. I think he can move back up quite quickly if he's got the car to kind of get there. So, hey, Mike, how's it going? Liz, happy Sunday. I can't agree with you with the Go Pack Go. I think they are going to win, but geez. Packers fans, too many. Go Vikings, skull. James, thanks for coming in. Chase that Elliott. What I want to do here to start things off is just I went ahead and looked at the last 3 Talladega races and the perfect lineup using LineStar. No, these aren't the optimal lineups, but these are the perfect lineups, which are probably going to be very close to what we see happen with the optimal lineups, just simply because it's Talladega and there's usually a lot of salary left on the table. So looking at the first race this year, we had Eric Jones, Kyle Busch, Ross Chastain, Chase Elliott, Austin Dillon, and Alex Bowman in the optimal lineup. I'm just going to go and start sorting here a little bit. They were also the top 6 drivers in DraftKings scoring. And just looking at their pricing, Elliott and Bowman were probably priced up a little bit. Kyle Busch was, I think, in the 9,500 range-ish. So what we've seen is 2 drivers outside the top 25 and then everyone else kind of in the teens. I think that could be something that we see here today. Now, it's not, things have kind of been tightening up a little bit for the super speedways. Normally we were looking at guys, we would want 3 or 4 guys outside the top 30 in our starting lineups. So I think going a little bit more contrarian, if that's the route you look to take, I think what you do is just expand your player pool kind of into the teens like we see here. Like there's 2 guys starting top 15, and then we got 2 more starting 15th to 20th, and then 2 outside the top 25. I think we're still going to need probably 2 or 3 guys starting outside the top 20 in our lineups for sure. If you start lowering that down too much, I think you're really giving up a lot of upside at these high variance super speedway races. So let's go over to last year's playoff race here at Talladega. Let me just sort that out here so we can have a look. We had Bubba Wallace starting 19th, Chris Buescher starting 24th, Kurt Busch starting 14th, Alfredo starting 30th. We had a punt play in there. Eric Jones starting 26th. And then we got our first top 10 in the optimal here. Brad Keselowski, a lot of that. He did lead 13 laps. I mean, that's pretty normal seeing, 3 or 4 guys leading 10 to 20 laps at a super speedway. But he finished second in the race, starting 7th. So we got 5 place differential in there as well. But there were only those 6 drivers were the only ones starting or with 50 or more DK points in that race. But again, we had 3 drivers this time starting 24th or back, 2 in 14th to 19th. So 1 top 20, 1 between 15th and 20th, and 1 just inside the top 15. And then we had, of course, Brad Keselowski starting top 10. I don't think we see a lot of that going on there today in terms of the guys starting top 10. Now, this is the first race at Talladega last year. So we had Kaz Grala starting 38th. So that's our punt play in there. We had Michael McDowell, another very cheap play, starting 23rd. Anthony Alfredo for back-to-back races last year was in the perfect lineup. He started 30th. DeBenedetto, Keselowski, and Harvick starting 16th, 10th, and 13th. That one was a little bit of an outlier. We did have quite a few drivers here. Custer was pretty close, Reddick and Briscoe. One of those 2 is probably in the optimal with their place differential in there as well. But we did have 9 drivers with 50 or more points in that race. William Byron was just outside of 49.25. So kind of what I'm looking at here today, the top of the, I think the chalkiest play on the slate is going to be Ryan Blaney starting 19th, 10-4. He's been pretty decent here at Talladega. Chase Elliott's probably going to see some ownership starting 16th in the upper. I like those two a little bit more in Kyle Busch and Martin Truex. Toyota's been having so many problems with engines and stuff. So I do like the place differential upside with Kyle Busch. He probably sees some popularity starting 26, same with Truex starting 22nd, but just the issues that they've been having there, a little bit secondary plays for me. Going down the board a little bit here. Happy race day, Ryan. Thanks for tuning in. Chris Buescher, Kevin Harvick starting 23rd and 24th are definitely going to be top plays for me. Harvick has been very, very consistent at Talladega. He's got top 10s in 4 of his last 5. So starting 24th gives him a lot of upside should he be able to do that again. Austin Cindric, I like secondary. Brad Keselowski, again, we've seen him in the optimal. Perfect lineup here quite a bit in that one. So 17th and 18th definitely makes sense. Keselowski first and second in 2021, 23rd, 18th, 19th. So he's got some solid finishes here. A little bit more variance with his finishes in terms of him starting 18th. So that would be why he is a little bit secondary play. Austin Dillon has been one of the best super speedway racers out there in the field. Over the last 2 years, he's got a win, 3 top 5s, which is tied for the most with Cindric, as well as Chastain and Bubba Wallace. 4 top 10s and 6 top 20s in the 9 races. So very consistent here at Talladega, 2nd, 11th, 8th, 12th, 6th, 14th. So he's got top 15s in 6 of his last 7 races here. Definitely like that. Michael McDowell, 2nd in the model, starting 29th. He's been very consistent on super speedways, very consistent at Talladega. I like to see that. Cole Custer would be my secondary play, kind of down in that high 6 range on DraftKings, and probably a top play over on FanDuel at 4,500. It allows you to pretty much spend up for all of these guys. You can combine Ryan Blaney is very expensive over there. Chase Elliott. So to combine those two together is going to cost you over 25,000. So pairing them together, definitely Cole Custer would fit in that build for sure. Down on the value range, I'm not liking a whole bunch here, but Corey LaJoie, Landon Castle starting outside the top 30th, both kind of in that median 18th to 20th range for their median finishes. So I definitely like looking at that here as well. I'm not really going to go down. Ty Dillon, in the past, you look at those top 20s in 7 straight races and top 15s in 6 of those 7. Definitely makes sense at 5,300 if you want to go there. I don't think we need to, but if you're kind of in a crunch, maybe want to get away from the LaJoie and Castle, I think Ty Dillon makes a lot of sense. And other than that, I'm really not touching any of these other lower guys down here either. Suarez starting 14th, maybe he just hasn't been consistent here at all. Going back to anything from the playoff race in 2019 forward, that's 6 straight races of 23rd or worse. It's just not enough consistency for me, especially with him starting 14th, not somewhere I'm looking to go. Super contrarian if you want to go there, because he is surrounded by Harvick, Buescher, Dillon, Bubba Wallace, Cindric, and Keselowski, who I think are all going to see much more ownership. So starting 14th with Suarez, for him to kind of equal these other guys in DraftKings scoring, you need a lot out of him. 46 points. He needs a 6th place finish to get you 6x. Whereas you look at a Kevin Harvick, he can get you 6x with a 10th place finish. Bubba Wallace, 53 points even. He's a little bit more expensive, but even a 9th place finish. Chris Buescher starting 23rd needs 45. You're looking at a 10th place to 11th place finish, depending on fast laps and stuff. So definitely no Suarez for me in my player pool today. Very contrarian. I wouldn't talk anyone off. Like I said, if you want to expand and go a little bit more contrarian, because these place differential plays are always going to be the highest owned guys on these super speedway races. I have no problem maybe grabbing 1 or 2 guys starting inside the top 15. So maybe that's where you want to go. But Chase Elliott there, 16th, I think I like a lot more. We got Cindric starting 17th, Keselowski 18th. I'm not really expanding my player pool to more than 4 or 5 guys starting inside the top 20. And I'm myself kind of really avoiding that top 15 starters today. So that's kind of the way I'm looking at my player pool anyway. So I'm just going to bring up DraftKings and kind of put together a quick lineup here and see where we're at for salary. Give me just a couple seconds. You throw out any other questions of drivers out there. Who's your pick to win, I guess? Post that in chat as well. I'm kind of looking at, I like Austin Dillon. I picked him for my 1 and done today, starting 20th. I just like his consistency. 1 and done's really tough at these, especially in the playoffs when you have our drivers have reset, because I have a lot of elite drivers left. But again, we got a ton of variance. We want stage points, which is tough. I mean, you can definitely pick guys that are starting inside the top 10 for one and done, just simply because, you may get those stage points. But again, things can move quite fast on the super speedway, and guys outside the top 10 can definitely get inside that top 10 pretty darn quick. Within probably 3-4 laps that can happen. So, and then if we see a crash, things will really start shaking up. Not if, when we see a crash, when we see the big one. So I'm going to jump into the chrome horn. Looks like I missed the main chrome horn here today. So let's go with, I like Blaney at the top, would definitely be in there. I'll kind of give you guys a core that I like going with: Bubba Wallace, Kevin Harvick, and probably Austin Dillon, maybe Chris Buescher. Let's go have a look here. Really close between those two. Yeah, I'm going to go with Dillon and his consistency. So that leaves 7,700. So I mean, you can definitely go and jam in another high price driver. Like you can get Chase Elliott in there and go down to Ty Dillon. So that's where he would fit in your builds. But I'm more inclined to go with, say, LaJoy or McDowell. If you get McDowell in there, you're left with 8,800. Then you can kind of go up and pick Cindric. That gets you into that Suarez range. You can get Chris Buescher. So that's kind of like my core right there would be Blaney, Bubba, Harvick, and Austin Dillon today. If there's no other questions, I'm going to wrap things up, go finish building my lineups here, watch some football, and get ready to watch some NASCAR. Good luck, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.